Henry loves me. Henry loves me not. Henry likes me. Henry likes me not. Henry tolerates me?
Message for your majesty.
Oh, many thanks, Lord Essex. You may go.
Your Majesty, it is with our deepest regret that due to the plague, we are unable to host you at Southampton this year for the annual Spokane Renaissance Fair. Regretfully, Lady Rebecca, the Baroness, Le Pellerin Yon.
Oh. Our poor children, stuck inside during this awful plague. They shall miss out all the fun of the Gossamer Glade, and the storytelling, and the craft making, and surely those fairies will be cooking up something mischievous.
Welcome to Gossamer Glade, a fairy realm experience brought to you by Mistress Silvermoon of the Moon Fae and Foxy of the Autumn Fae. Today we are going to be doing some fairy crafts, so please come join us. As you can see, we have moved inside and we are both wearing our protective facial masks to keep us safe from the plague.
Our first craft today are going to be fairy bells. You will need a stick.
You can find them in your yard or if you fly, right in your tree.
Wait, humans don't have wings.
You're right, they don't. So one on the floor is probably the best.
Probably. You'll also need some embroidery floss. Any color will do. What else will they need?
You will also need an assortment of shiny things such as bells, beads, wooden or metal, and, well, just about anything you think would attract a fairy. Fairies love shiny things.
We do.
You will also need glue. We will be using a glue stick today. And parents' permission to use sharp things.
Remember to always get your parents' permission first. Our first step is going to be starting to wrap our embroidery floss or yarn around our stick. We'll need a little bit of glue in order to do that. Thank you.
Oh, ooh, what color?
Ooh, I think I will do blue.
Blue's a wonderful color.
I do love blue, yes.
The Moon Fae are known for not only their silvers and blacks, but their blues, are they not?
We are indeed. What color will you do?
I will do yellow. It is of the autumn. It is fall, after all.
It is my favorite time of year.
Mine too.
Now, once you've got your bell placed where you want it, or your bead, you can continue wrapping until your fairy stick for your bells is exactly the way you want it to be. However many bells and beads that may be.
Colors even. They don't have to be these ones. It may be fall, but I mean, pink is not half bad, is it?
Colors are wonderful. When you're finished, you may end up with something similar to this. You can hang it this way or this way. Either way you want to do it. I think she likes it.
Oh, sorry. Up next, we have our fairy rocks. First, you'll need to pick a rock.
We have pre-painted ours.
So after you get your rock, you'll also need your paints. Again, any color, just like the fairy bells. And you'll also need your, what are they called? Sharpies. Sharpies. Are they sharp?
Let's find out. They don't look very sharp to me.
It leaves color.
Ooh.
That's quite what I thought. Well, I guess we'll use these. They leave color behind. So, you will take your lovely rock, as we said we have pre-painted ours, and you can draw absolutely whatever you want on it. Be sure not to write your information on them.
Any marker will do, though a Sharpie or a permanent marker is recommended. What are you going to draw on yours?
Maybe a moth. Moths are quite common around here.
Indeed. Since I am a moon fairy, I think I will draw a moon on mine.
Oh, perfect, perfect. And now we have finished.
This is what I put on my rock.
And this is what I have put on mine. You can be creative in any way.
After you've finished your fairy rocks, you may go to a park or your yard, anywhere you want, and leave your fairy rock for another child or fairy to find.
I know I definitely like finding them. It draws my attention and brings me to those wonderful, wonderful gardens that I see other people have. And finally, we have our Dragon Snot.
Oh, that sounds atrocious.
Atrocious? But fun.
Suppose so.
I mean, I'd like to play in it, wouldn't you?
Perhaps. What you will need is half a cup of Elmer's glue or any washable glue. You can do clear glue and add food coloring to it to make it whatever color you want. We just did purple today.
Purple's a wonderful color, is it not?
Oh, it is. It's one of my favorites. You will need to mix 1/2 cup of the glue in 1/2 cup of water. We have it right here, already mixed up.
And right here, that we already have mixed up, is 1 cup of water mixed with 1 teaspoon of borax.
Ooh.
And give it a quick mix and you'll notice it'll start to gel. Then, what you'll want to do is add it to your glue and give it a good mix.
Oh my.
It's already starting to form! Oh, that's snot for sure.
Oh, it's very snotty.
Looks just like Dragon Snot, and I know. Have you been stuck up a nose of a dragon before?
No, I've not.
Same texture and everything.
My aunt was stuck there once, though.
Oh dear.
Oh, it was a bugger to get her out.
Oh, and all of it trying to wash it off. Oh, it's atrocious. But I'm having fun.
Oh!
Oh, I will definitely be playing with this again. But not from a real dragon. They don't seem to like it when you go digging for treasure.
Not in their nose, no. That concludes our fairy class for the afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope you had fun.
And remember, magic is everywhere, and you do not need to be a child to enjoy it.
So go find your magic.
It's a pleasure to meet you. My name is Shayla Cedarwin, and today I'll be telling you the tale of Tamlane. Young Tamlane was the son of Earl Murray, and Burr Janet was the daughter of Dunbar, Earl of March. And when they were young, they loved one another, and they plighted their troth. But when the time came near for their marrying, Tamlane disappeared, and none knew what had become of him. Many, many days after he disappeared, Burr Janet was wandering in Canterbury Wood, though she had been warned not to go there. And as she wandered, she plucked the flowers from the bushes. She came at last to a brush of broom and began plucking it. She had not taken more than 3 flowerets, but by her side started young Tamerlane. "Where you come from, Tamerlane?" Bird Janet said, "and why have you been away so long?" "From Elfland I come," said young Tamerlane. "The Queen of Elfland has made me her knight." "But how did you get there, Tamerlane?" said Bird Janet. "I was hunting one day, and as I rode Withershins round yon hill, a deep drowsiness fell upon me, and when I awoke, behold, I was in Elfland. Fair is that land, and gay and fain, would I stop but for thee and one other thing. Every 7 years the elves pay their tithe to the netherworld, and for all the Queen makes much of me, I fear it is myself that will be the tithe. Oh, can you not be saved? Tell me if aught I can do to save you, Tamerlane." "Only one thing is there for my safety. Tomorrow night is Halloween, and the fair court will then ride through England and Scotland. And if you would borrow me from Elfland, you must take your stand by Miles Cross between 12 and 1 o' the night. And with holy water in your hand, you must cast a compass all around you." "But how shall I know you, Tamerlane?" quoth Bird Janet. "Amid so many knights I ne'er seen before." "The first court of elves that come by let pass. The next court you shall pay reverence to, but do not say aught. But the third court that comes by is the chief court of them, and I shall ride by the side of the Queen of Elfland, upon a milk-white steed with a star in my crown, and give me this honour as being a christened knight." Sorry.
Cut.
"But how shall I know you, Tamerlane?" quoth Bird Janet. "Amid so many knights I ne'er seen before. The first court of elves that come by let pass. The next court you shall pay reverence to, but do not say aught. But the third court that comes by is the chief court of them, and at the head rides the Queen of Elfland, and I shall ride by her side upon a milk-white steed with a star in my crown. They give me this honour as being a christened knight. Watch my hands, Janet. The right one will be gloved, but the left one will be bare, and by that token ye shall know me." "But how to save you, Tamerlane?" quoth Bird Janet. "You must spring upon me suddenly, and I will fall to the ground. Then seize me quick, and whatever change befall me, for they will exercise for all their magic on me, cling hold to me till they turn me into a red-hot iron. Then cast me into this pool, and I'll be turned back into a mother-naked man. Cast then your green mantle over me, and I shall be yours and of the world again." So Bird Janet promised to do all for Tamerlane, and next night at midnight she took her stand by Miles Cross and cast a compass all around her with holy water. Soon there came riding by the elfin court. First over the mound went a troop of black steeds, and then another troop of brown. But in the third court on all milk-white steeds she saw the Queen of Elfland, and by her side a knight with a star in his crown, with right hand gloved and left hand bare. Then she knew this was her own Tamerlane, and springing forward she seized the bridle of the milk-white steed and pulled its rider down. As soon as he had touched the ground, she let go the bridle and seized him in her arms. He's won among us all," shrieked out the eldritch crew, and all came around her and tried their spells on young Tamerlane. First they turned him in Janet's arms like frozen ice, and then into a huge flame of roaring fire. Then again the fire vanished, and an otter was skipping through her arms, but still she held on. And then they turned him into a snake that reared up his head as if to bite her, and yet she held on. Then suddenly a dove was struggling in her arms, and almost flew away. They turned him into a swan, but all was in vain, till at last he was turned into a red-hot glaive, and this she cast into the well of water, and then he was turned into a mother-naked man. She quickly cast her green mantle over him, and young Tamerlane was Bird Janet's forever. Then sang the Queen of Elfland as the court turned away and began to resume its march. "She has borrowed young Tamerlane, has gotten a stately groom. She has taken away my bonniest knight, left nothing in his room. But had I known, Tamerlane, a lady would borrow thee, I'd had taken out thy toon green eye and put into eyes of tree. But had I known, Tamerlane, before we came home, I'd have taken out my heart of flesh and put in a heart of stone. Had I but the wit yestreen that I have gotten today, I'd paid the fiend 7 times his tide, ere you'd been won away. Then sang the Queen of Elfland as the court turned away, and began to resume its march. She that has borrowed young Tamerlane has gotten a stately groom. She's taken away my bonniest knight, and left nothing in his room. But had I known, Tamerlane, a lady would borrow thee, I'd done taken out thine 2 green eyes, and put in 2 eyes or 3. Had I but known, Tamerlane, before we came from home, I'd have taken out my heart of flesh, and put in a heart of stone. Had I but had the wit yestreen that I had gotten today, I'd paid the fiend 7 times his tide, ere you'd been won away. And then the elfin court rode away, and Burd Janet and young Tamerlane went their way homewards, and soon after were married, after young Tamerlane had again been saved by holy water and made Christian once more.
Hi, I'm Lady Fox, and I'd like to sing you a song. Sing me a song of a lass that is gone. Say, could that lass be I? Mary a soul, she sailed on a day over the sea to sky. Billow and breeze, islands and seas, mountains of rain and sun. All that was good, all that was bad, all that was me is gone. Sing me a song of a lass that is gone. Say, could that lass be I? Mary a soul, she sailed on a day over the sea to sky.
Hi, folks. Do you want to hear a story today? You do? I have one. It's called Cushion Lou. Right. Well, it's actually supposed to be a song, but I don't sing very well, so I'm just going to read it to you. Does that work? Okay. So, sleep, my child, for the rustling trees, stirred by the breath of summer breeze, and fairy songs of sweetest note around us gently float. Sleep, for the weeping flowers have shed their fragrant tears upon thy head. The voice of love has swooned thy rest, and thy pillow is a mother's breast. Sleep, my child, weary has passed thy time forlorn, since to your mansion I was born. Though feed the feast of its airy halls, and the voice of mirth resounds from its walls. Sleep, my child. Ah. Full many a maid and blooming bride within that splendid dome abide, and many a hoard and shrivelled sage, and many a matron bowed with age. Sleep, my child. Oh, thou hear'st the song of the Faire, to the mourner's home these tidings bear. Bid him bring thy knife of the magic blade, at those lightning flash thy charm will fade. Sleep, my child. Hast for tomorrow's sun will see thy hateful spell removed from me, nor can I from thy home depart, till life shall leave my withering heart. Sleep, my child. Sleep, my child, for the rustling trees, stirred by breath of the summer breeze, and fairy song of sweetest note around us gently float. Are you ready for a nap now? All right. Come on, you can go to sleep.
Good day, lords and ladies, and welcome to Animal House Puppet Theater's presentation of The Fox and the Crow, Hard Cheese, in which a fox persuades a crow out of his lunch. Once, not long ago, in a forest not unlike this one, a small, coal-black crow sat perched high in the branches of a great oak tree. Unlike most crows who sulk about in their crowish way, this particular crow was rather pleased with herself, for she proudly held aloft a large wedge of cheese in her beak. In sooth, she was so pleased that she just sat there on her branch, enjoying the all-round sense of pretension and snootiness that the cheese was giving her, when a fox wandered into the story. A story that had begun when a freshly made cheese was left too close to an open window, whereupon the rapacious crow acquired it. So the fox sat quietly under the tree and gazed reverently up at the crow. A long, awkward silence ensued. Until at last the crow nervously looked down upon the fox.
What do you want? Oh, my lady, I must know your secrets. Have you discovered some new bird bath of youth on your travels? I cannot help but marvel at the sheer wonderment of your fabulously fluffy feathers. Your eyes gleam with a passionate flame. Your rough, lizard-like legs are so... well, but your talons, so shiny and sharp, and your glamorous and glorious beak glimmers in the sunlight, so perfectly contrasted by the creamy whiteness of, well, whatever that is you have in your beak.
The crow was quite taken by the compliments, and her pride soared, feeling even loftier than before.
And a little bird was saying only this morning that you are so much more than a beauty to behold. I was told that your singing voice is equally beautiful. In fact, I understand you have the most celestially enchanting singing voice in all the known world. And with a single note, you can move your audience from utter sorrow to sheer joy. And that all the nightingales, skylarks, and robins of the forest fall silent at the sound of your sweet perfection.
The fox paused for a moment, thinking he may have slathered it on a bit too thick, and had better stop, only adding,
Oh, how my heart would go all aflutter to hear that mellifluous and melodious voice of yours. It would be such a privilege. Perhaps you would bless me with a private performance? I beg of you, my lady, just a single chorus. I would even relish in a mere verse or two.
So overwhelmed with flattery, the crow felt a helpless urge to sing. She opened her beak. She went as harsh, discordant, and inharmonious as only a crow can. Upon the very first note, the cheese fell, bouncing from branch to branch and plummeting into the fox's wide-open, waiting jaws.
I got the cheese, now you don't have none.
And that is where the story, as the fox predicted, ends.
And super dreamy, I see the future, 'cause I am psychic.
All right, now you're just being arrogant. Shoo! Take your ill-gotten cheese and scat! Sorry, everyone. Now, the moral of our story is...
That I am awesome.
Shh! The moral of our story is beware of false flattery.
Do you know that you are the most beautiful woman in all the forest?
Git! Don't make me come back there!
Do not tease me, you sussy wench, you.
Apologies, good people. The end!
Hello and good day to all of you. Welcome to my closet. My name is Dr. Johann Georg Ranimus Adolphus Theophilus Nicholas Bellicus Ambrosius Aloysius Hilarius Fabricius Leviticus Donatus Andreas Regulus Augustus Faust, but you of course may call me Dr. Faust. And today I am here to tell you about the latest innovations and precautions that you can take for plague prevention. Namely, you may be familiar with the pomander, having seen it bobbing about on the belts of fashionable ladies at court, being fashioned from gold and silver filigree with different kinds of jewels or enamel worked into it, and though it is primarily known as that piece of jewelry today, the name that it originates from, the French Pomme d'Ambre, translating roughly as apple of amber, actually refers to the sweet-smelling contents of the pomander, which, when combined with different kinds of resins or something to create a fixative and molded into that rough size and shape of an apple, is actually truly what the name pomander refers to, with the decorative enclosure that it is encased in only coming about much afterwards. Now, I cannot stress to you enough the importance of good smells towards one's health, for as everyone knows, sickness and pestilence is spread through foul vapors in the air, so most effective way to protect yourself from it and prevent yourself from getting sick or infected is to surround yourself with sweet-smelling articles so as to stave away the harmful effects of... Now, that is not to say that I am encouraging bathing, for it is actually quite an unhealthy practice. I mean, consider the state of most of the water that one finds in the cities, often being foul and quite putrid for everyone having thrown their waste into it. I wouldn't even touch that. Who knows what kinds of foul vapors are seeping about in it. So if one must bathe, I suppose, one must be sure only to do it with cold water, for hot water only relaxes the body and opens it, making it susceptible for sickness to penetrate. Therefore, the best remedy for bodily health that is not... Now, there are several different kinds of pomenders that jewelers have become quite clever about creating, depending on the different kinds of sweet-smelling substances within it. Now, if it is a resin-based substance that may be molded into the namesake apple of amber, then there are several pomenders that are just spheres that may hinge open or are secured by a rod going straight through that screws the two halves shut. For powders or other loose substances such as dried herbs and spices, jewelers come up with several different contraptions that are segmented on the inside for each of the different substances, some of them even being quite sophisticated enough as to hinge open each different compartment rather like a freshly peeled orange, with each one being decorated and labeled for each of the different smells on the inside. Now, if you are not well off enough to afford a pomender case from your local jeweler, but you are still able to afford some of the spices from your well-stocked apothecary, what I would encourage, in the simplest of terms, is to acquire but a simple nutmeg. Now, having but one of these about, you may tie a simple string around it or through it and wear it on your finger, so that if you're passing through a rather foul part of town and you want to keep the vapors away from you, you may simply hold it to your nose and sniff it as you pass through unaffected. Similarly, if you are able to come across some sandalwood, you may have those fashioned into beads and strung about in the form of a rosary. So that is very effective to maintain not only bodily health but spiritual health as well. If you are able to afford a few more spices, then you may combine them in a pomander of your own making by taking but a simple cloth bag into which you may put several articles such as, let's say for example, a few sticks of cinnamon. There we are, and just a generous dash of cloves. There we are. Oh yes, quite fine, quite good. Just cinch it closed, and it can be worn effectively, being tied to a cord around your neck, or placed upon your belt or girdle to have it ready at hand if ever you should encounter some foul smells. If your apothecary is not as well stocked, but you do have a rather generous garden with yourself, then instead of using the exotic herbs and spices that may be quite expensive, you can take but some simple mint, along with some rose petals, thyme, rosemary, and combine them in the same manner. If there are any fishermen out there who were as enterprising as they were lucky to have come across some ambergris, this is a sort of a waxy substance that is seen floating about on the shoreline that actually has a very pleasant, sort of sweet, leathery smell, and it is produced from the digestive tract of a sperm whale, which is then regurgitated, left to float about on the oceans to be collected by the next lucky person to make a small fortune for themselves. If one is looking further afield for the most expensive items, the most potent items, that would be substances produced by the musk deer, which is found along northern India, the Himalayas, and over into the Siberian regions, and that of the civet cat, which is found along southern Asia from Indonesia, along India, over into the African continent. If one is looking further afield for the most expensive items, the most potent items, that would be substances produced by the musk deer, which is found along northern India, the Himalayas, and over into the Siberian regions, and that of the civet cat, which is found along southern Asia from Indonesia, along India, over into the African continent. These have quite the reputation for themselves because they are produced from the sexual glands of the animals and are used primarily for marking their territory and attracting a mate. As such, they have come to be known as quite aphrodisiacs, but I, of course, know nothing about whether they do or do not actually work or not. And if one is fortunate enough or wealthy enough to get one of these in their possession, they must take great care when handling them, for they are so potent that they must be diluted before use, as even the smallest grain is... Thank you for joining us. My name is Dr. Faust. Stay safe, Faire Pomenders.
Silly fairies. One of the most unfortunate parts of these unprecedented circumstances is that not only are the entertainers out of work, but we aren't able to donate any food to the Second Harvest Food Bank like we do every year. If you can give, please give. There's a link below that you can follow for the Second Harvest Food Bank, as well as to the entertainers that you've seen here today. Thank you so much.